Welcome and welcome back, everybody. Tia here. Happy New Year. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic holiday season. And like many of y'all may be making your New Year's resolutions to get those unplayed games off your shelf of shame, here we are today. Now, despite Dr. Joe's best effort, there's been a little buildup recently. So I've broken down the games into categories because yes, there are a lot of them. But I wanted to share with you the games that are on my shelf of shame that I'm hoping to get played sooner rather than later. So let me know in the comments down below what games you have on your shelf of shame and what games you are most excited to delve into this year. Starting off, we have our obligatory solo games. The first of which is a tiny game that I just picked up recently called Pocket Master Builder. Now, this is technically a 1 to 2 player game, but I think I'll be playing it solo most of the time, depending on how good it is. I've heard that the rulebook is a little bit convoluted, but I'm really looking forward to trying it out. Next up, we have one of my favorite designers from Shadi Torve, the newest Oniverse series game, Solarion. I'm a huge fan of Shadi's designs, and I'm sure this will be no exception. I just haven't had time to get it to the table yet, but when I do, expect that you'll be hearing about it. Maybe even, I don't know, solo party video, we'll have to see. And next we have a tiny little micro game from designer George Zhang. So George is actually a local designer, and he was nice enough to send me a copy of this game called Can't Touch This, which actually uses little paper clips to track your resources. So this is again for 1 to 2 players, and this should be a quick one to whip out. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting to try it. The next two are a little bit chunkier, but we have Spire's End, which, my gosh, I'm not a huge fan of story-driven games, but the aesthetic, like, ooh, hello, yes. So this really takes me back to my childhood, all the like choose your own adventure stories that I used to love reading growing up, and I'm very excited to try it in this schmexy little package. And last but not least, we have another game called Veil Wraith. This one has a very unique aesthetic to it, and I'm very much looking forward to finally being able to try it now that I found a copy that wasn't like $500,000. That concludes the solo portion of our games. This next little stack are games that I won in my first ever BGG auctions. Somebody was auctioning off a bunch of Japanese and trick-taking games, and some of both, so I'm very excited. The first is called Sakanobore, which, oh my gosh, it's about being a bear and trying to catch salmon. It looks absolutely adorable. Can't wait to try it. It was a quick add-on. This one is called A World Where Everything is a Little Kinder. And while I don't think that the gameplay, it's like push your luck, is necessarily the shining moment of this game, it's actually based on a famous Japanese comic, which the art for the game is just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really excited to have this one in my collection as a collector's item. Next up, we have Village Mask Poker, which was a really cheap addition in this auction. I thought, hey, I'm getting all these other ones, why not? I absolutely love the art. I've had a few other games by them, one which you'll see in a bit, and the other is Guardian Go. But it is a trick-taking game, so I'm not sure how it deviates from traditional trick-taking games. I know there's a lot of different cards. I did do my work. I printed out all the English rules for these, so now I just have to read them and play them. And the next two of a similar ilk, we have Izayoi and Humble Tea Party. So both of these feature different tiles that you're going to be collecting and arranging. Izayoi features different gifts, and Humble Tea Party features food items. So both of these just look like really gorgeous productions, and I think the gameplay hopefully holds up to the aesthetic. The next category of games I haven't gotten around to quite yet, just because they are larger player count games. So the first of that is Cinderella Magic. Told you we'd be seeing more art. This just looks like a cute little kind of push your luck deduction game where you're trying to get all of the different items ready for Cinderella's ball. I got it when it was on clearance on the Board Game Geek store while I was ordering some other promos, so very excited to give this one a try, hopefully sometime soon. Then we have Fool from Freedom Increase. I picked this one up for cheap at the Board Game Garage sale, and while it is in Korean, luckily the cards themselves are text-free, so it should be pretty easy to learn the rules and whip it out. The only problem is this one has a minimum player count of 4 players, so we'll have to see when that gets to the table. And speaking of large player counts, we have Jordan Draper's Tokyo Game Show. Huge fan of Jordan Draper's. I love Tokyo Jinohanbaiki. Tokyo Game Show is of a similar fashion where you have some basic components that you can use to play a lot of different mini games. So this is one that I'm really looking forward to whipping out and trying all the different games there are to offer. The next game is one that I got at the Board Game Garage sale called Two Rooms and a Boom. Now, I've heard legendary things about this game. It is a team-based game where you're going to actually be splitting up and going into different rooms. It supports from 6 to 30 players. So once things have calmed down a little bit more on the wellness front, I'm hoping to be able to put together some big board game nights again and have this one as like an all-in game that we can play throughout the nights. Next is Mafia de Cuba. Now, I haven't played this one, though it's been in my collection for quite some time. I just love the production. I think the components look great. This game actually has a mechanic where you hide things or put things in your physical pockets. So that proves to be a little tricky when not everybody at the table has pockets, but it's such a unique concept that I haven't been able to bring myself to get rid of it quite yet. So I am making a promise to myself that when we're able to, this one definitely has to get out on the table. And last but not least, speaking of gorgeous productions, we have Wolves of Mercia. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure how this game plays. I just thought it was so absolutely gorgeous. I got it used with some other games again as like a quick $5 add-on that I ordered off of Facebook Marketplace from a seller. So I don't know, it looks beautiful, maybe something kind of like Werewolf, but the aesthetic, like, how can you not? So hopefully I'll get to try this one too, and who knows, maybe it'll be great. And next on our list, we have a group of games that give me kind of like Alice or Alice in Wonder. You'll see. So the first one on this list is Alice is Missing. So this is actually an RPG game where the players are going to act as people in this like high school town. And this girl, Alice, has gone missing. So you are trying to figure out her whereabouts and what happened to her. But the catch is, after you create your characters, you can only communicate with one another via text, like actual texting. This seems like such a cool, unique experience. Again, I'm not a huge fan of role-playing games or like traditional kind of D&D-esque role-playing games, but this seems like it has such a beautifully veiled mystery, and it really gives me some Life is Strange vibes if you're familiar with that video game series. So I'm really looking forward to delving into this one. I haven't yet because I just want to find like the perfect group to play it with who will really appreciate it as much as I do. And next up, speaking of Alice, we have literally an Alice in Wonderland game. Where am I? Alice in a Mad Tea Party. Now, this game is a little bit of a deduction game. I'll be honest and say I don't think the gameplay is that excellent, but it does come with an actual little tea set that you can set up on a table. And one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid is craft little clay tea sets and just keep them. Like, I didn't use them for anything. They were just adorable. When I saw that they're using similar components in an actual game, had to have it. We'll see if the game is any good or not. And then we have a game that doesn't have Alice in the title, but it gives me some Alice in Wonderland vibes called I Guess This Is It. This is a 2-player RPG game from Button Shy Games, and the art is so whimsical and so beautiful. I am super excited to try this one out. The whole premise of the game is you're playing as 2 characters who are saying a final goodbye, which sounds really intense and emotional. So I'm very much looking forward to trying this out again once I find the right person who is as about it as I am. And last but not least, we have another game with Alice in the title called Alice-Matic Heroes. This is one of the weebiest things I own. I'm not gonna lie. I got it for $5 at a board game auction at a local convention. The reason I got it was not only because of the ridiculous, unapologetic, over-the-top art, but also this board and this tableau of cards gives me like real Deus vibes. I have no idea if it's actually really like Deus, but if it's anything like Deus, I am all in. Deus with anime schoolgirls. Really looking forward to giving this one a try. Again, I think unfortunately the minimum player count is 3 players, so I'll have to find a special time when I can get this one to the table. And last but not least, we have the meat and potatoes of the group. So the first one is called Cooney vs. Lakia, a tale of a royal Lepine divorce chronicle. This is a 2-player deck building game where you were playing as either Kune or Princess Lakia, 2 royal bunnies who are getting a divorce. You're divvying up your assets. I don't know how Todd Sanders comes up with this stuff, but I'm glad that this exists, and I'm really looking forward to trying it because I've heard it's like a very, very good game as well. Next, I have a game called Stampede, which is a little set collection game. This game, I've been told, is easy to learn but difficult to master, which is like music to my ears. I also love the aesthetic, the idea of the animals as actual little stamps that you're collecting just really, really tickles me. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a try. And speaking of easy to learn, hard to master, we have Merchants of Tunhuang, which is actually from the same designer as Hats. Now, I had never heard anything about this game. Again, found it on Facebook Marketplace for super cheap. But first of all, I don't think the cover does it justice. The actual game itself looks really gorgeous. And like Hats, I've been told that it is a game that at first seems too simple, but once you get into it and really see how the game works, that there are a lot of moving parts. So I'm hoping, if it lives up to that expectation, that this will be one of my new quick favorites to whip out. And then we have Studies in Sorcery. So this is a little engine building game. I actually got it gifted from a friend, and I'm looking forward to trying it. I've heard great things about it, especially the solo play. So excited for that. And next we have a bigger boy, The Hunger. Now, I love the aesthetic. I love the theme. I love deck builders. So the idea of going out and trying to eat humans, as many as you can, and pushing your luck before the sun comes back up seems really interesting. This is just a really unique piece. I know a lot of people talked about it when it initially came out, and I haven't heard much about it since. Hopefully, regardless, it is going to be a fun time all around. And that brings us to our last game on this list, the creme de la creme. We have Carnegie. Now, oof, this is a little bit chunkier than games I would usually gravitate towards. 90 to 120 minutes. I'm sure that that's a very conservative estimate. But Carnegie is one of these games that when I saw it, I knew I had to have it. I love the idea of all these different engines and different levels of things going on. And I mean, the presentation of this one, I've said it before, but I was not a huge fan of Ian O'Toole's artwork until I started playing a lot more games that featured it, and seeing it on the table, just beautiful. Last year, I had some surprises towards the beginning of the year when I did my 50 plays in 50 days, and some of my favorite games off that list were chunkier games like Praga Regni or Black Angel. So I'm really excited to delve into Carnegie because I have a sneaking suspicion that this might be that game for me this year. So there you have it. There are some number of games that I lost track on my shelf of shame that I'm looking forward to getting to the table soon this year. Again, let me know in the comments down below which games you have on your shelf of shame and what you're looking forward to trying out, or if there are any games here that you recommend I start with, please, please, please let me know. And while you're down there, you can hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.